Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee of the City County Council. It is 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, November 21st. Happy holidays and happy upcoming Thanksgiving. Welcome to the Public Safety Committee. We'll start our meeting this evening with introductions of my councilors. To the first row, Councilor Dilk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councilor Mike Dilk, District 24.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Arnay, District 23.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Josh Bain, District 20.
Thank you, councilors. On the second row, Councilor Barth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm John Barth, representing Council District 7.
Good evening, Chairman Robinson. Krista Carlino, District 6, West Side.
Thank you, councilors. And top row, Councilor Graves.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, everyone. My name is Keith Graves. I'm a member of council representing the East Side, District 9.
Really messed that up.
Thank you, Chairman Robinson. Councilor Jared Evans, representing the far west side.
Which district, my man?
Thank you.
Is he eating? Yeah, Jared Evans is eating.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Frank Mascari, District
Again.
21.
Again.
Now, next year it's going to be 19. Very confusing.
Council
Thank you,
members,
Councilor Leroy Robinson, District 1, Chair of the Committee.
please eat before your
On the agenda
meeting.
this evening, up first is
Not
Proposal
hard.
305, 2023. It amends Section 28-26 of the revised code regarding the Criminal Justice Planning Council to make various changes. Who's speaking to that Proposal 305?
Various
Will come forward,
changes.
please?
Seems very broad. I don't know about you.
Ms. General Counsel, you want to speak to this, these changes, or?
I can. Yeah, I think the only change is they changed it from a mandatory meeting monthly to meeting as often as necessary. And that's, I believe, the only change.
So regularly scheduled meetings were monthly,
That's correct.
and now they will be how often?
As often as necessary, but no less than quarterly. So they'll meet 4 times a year,
Okay, at least quarterly.
at least quarterly.
Thank you so much. Anyone want to speak to Proposal 305? Councilor Graves.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I think it says various changes. Can we talk a little bit more about various?
She just did.
That would be it.
Thank you.
Councilor,
I think Keith is high.
Is anybody on the committee or in the audience serve on the Criminal Justice Planning Committee?
I'm on the committee. Councilor Nay's on the committee.
Can someone speak to the, I guess, the workload that's happening on there, the discussions, exactly what's transpiring at this committee? I guess what my point here is that I'm not okay with considering what's going on in this city with regards to crime and violence. I'm not okay in allowing that committee to reduce their commitments to less than once a month. However, if they want to meet more than once a month, I could support that, but I'm not going to vote yes to give them permission to meet quarterly.
Good call by Jared.
Mr.
Rare
Sheriff
W
Forson.
by Evans.
Good evening. I actually didn't plan to address it, but
All right. Kerry Forrestville, elected sheriff of Marion County. For those who don't know, he is also related to Ryan Mears, only by marriage, though. Still don't know how, though.
it is I'm the chairman of the board. And Counselor, just so you're aware, we were going to change it to every other month beginning in January, if you so approve. It was basically where there was time being focused by some people coming to the committee meetings that could be resolved by the Thursday afternoon group, the tag group that it's usually referred to, and not need to tie up other people's time to come to a meeting every other month and resolve important issues instead of finding additional issues for the opposite months. But again, it's a council ordinance, as I understand it, that was originally every month. So that's why we did take a poll amongst the board members who agreed to that, but it's a council's choice.
Yeah, but why?
Thank you, Mr. Sheriff. Comments or questions on Proposal 305? Anyone in the audience care to speak to it? Councilor Graves.
Sheriff, if you don't mind, just want to get your quick input. Is it okay? Will we still be able to handle the responsibilities that we expect of this task force if we did go to the quarterly meetings?
Yes, sir. It actually gives us the option to have the meeting if we so choose, but only being required to every other month.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilor Oliver.
Yes, along the same line, do the bylaws of the code allow you to call an emergency meeting as you see fit?
I'm sorry, sir?
Do your bylaws or the code allow you to call emergency meeting as you see fit?
My understanding, if it's changed, it will.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Sheriff, as the chair, you did state that the members of the committee voted in favor of this change?
We didn't have a vote. We had a discussion
Oh.
amongst people separately because we didn't have a quorum to want to do that meeting as a vote.
That sounds
But,
shady.
there was nobody that dissented.
Counselor, thank you, sir. Counselor Muscari.
I'd like to move proposal 305 to full council.
Is it me or is that weird? Where you're saying that, hey, we're doing such a good enough job, but we don't have to meet once a month. We can do every other month. Is that okay with you? With a record amount of homicides, crazy amounts of murder and violence is going on around Indianapolis, but yet the public safety committee outside of that, the board, is saying we don't have to really meet that often. And now that they're saying that we decided this behind closed doors, so nobody really knows what's going on. Sounds weird to me.
Motion been properly moved and seconded. Counselor Renee, I'm sorry, Counselor Renee.
No, that's no problem, Mr. Chairman. As my caucus's representative on this planning council, I just wanted to acknowledge Councilor Evans' concerns. You know, it was one thing that had crossed my mind as we looked at this proposal, but for some of the points that the sheriff has made and others as a part of the council, it would be my expectation that we'll be able to carry on and focus on the important work that this council oversees. And should additional meetings be required throughout the year, it'd be my expectation that those meetings would be added to the calendar. And I would encourage my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, if they see room for additional meetings and conversations, and I would welcome that. I'm sure those a part of the council would as well. Thank you.
That was a whole lot of
Thank you,
word
Counselor
vomit.
Renee. As a fellow colleague and board member on this committee, I'd support and concur with what you said. Motion been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk, you want to do a roll call vote?
Renee.
Aye.
Bain.
Aye.
Barth.
Aye.
Boots.
There's no boots.
Not present.
Carlino.
Aye.
Dilk.
Counselor Dilk, aye.
Evans.
No.
Graves.
Graves, aye.
Mascari.
Aye.
Oliver.
Oliver, aye.
Robinson.
Robinson, aye.
Recommended that this council do pass said proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
It's an affirmative action hire.
305 does pass. Thank you so much. Proposal 340, 2023.
Not to be
reappoints
mean.
Dean Babcock to the Assessment Intervention Center Advisory Board. Mr. Babcock's present. You want to come forward, sir? Welcome.
Babcock.
This is a reappointment to this important board for our city. Share with us a few things why you'd like to be reappointed, a few reasons why you'd like to be appointed, and also share with us your attendance since you've been appointed.
Haven't been appointed all that long. I was just here a couple of months ago. Glad to be reappointed. So my background
This
is
might get boring.
I'm
I
a licensed
apologize.
clinical social worker and addiction counselor who had a career here in Indianapolis at the VA hospital in Eskenazi. Really kind of leading the efforts related to substance use disorder in the city. Currently work for as a contracted employee with the Marion County Health Department. Working on resource directories and host a podcast for them.
Hey.
Called Beyond Substance.
That's cute.
Attendance as far as the meetings you've attended. Can you speak to that real quick?
I've only attended 2 in person and 1 by Zoom. Had surgery. So, so far, I approach this as kind of keeping my mouth shut and learning a little bit about it before I do it. But my focus on there is, so far, is really paying attention to what planning is in place for when people, in particular with addictive disorders and opioid use disorders in particular, when they leave that facility, how prepared are they to not go down the path of and having an overdose? So.
Thank you so much for your willingness to volunteer on this important committee. Comments or questions of Mr. Babcock from the committee? Anyone in the audience care to speak to 340?
Pardon?
Excuse me? Anyone in the audience care to speak to 340?
Whoopsie.
Chair will entertain a motion. Councilor Muscari.
I'd like to move proposal 340 to full council.
Motion been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk, you want to do a roll call vote, please?
Anay,
Aye.
Bain,
Aye.
Barth, Carlino,
Aye.
Dilk,
Counselor Dilk, aye.
Evans,
Aye.
Graves,
Graves, aye.
Mascari,
Aye.
Oliver,
Aye.
Robinson.
Robinson, aye. Thank you, sir. Your proposal passes.
Thank you.
Councilor Pierce, can we do we have to do roll call votes for these? Can we do consent? Huh?
You do not. Not
We
for-
can do consent? I know,
You can just do aye, nay. And if somebody votes nay, we can just
oh,
have
okay.
nay count.
I know Majority Leader Lewis does that, so I figured I could just, as opposed to doing roll call votes. Thank you so much. Up next, proposal 341, 2023, reappoints Fred Purvine to the Emergency Services Agency Board. Mr. Purvine, want to come forward, please? Thank you for your years of service to IFD and also to this board. We appreciate you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Speak to us briefly. We know you have all the credentials possible for this service, but speak to us why you'd like to be reappointed.
Man, she has gorgeous hair.
Number one, I enjoy
And
the
she's
work.
got the
I
pearl
enjoy
necklace.
The team, have a great
What
team
can I
together.
say?
They have a great plan.
Got it all.
A great vision. Like to be a part of this team and vision. Have a lot of institutional knowledge that I have that I would like to impart to the team. Grateful to have served in this capacity. I've been an employee of the city for over 37, 38 years. And again, I enjoy giving back the things that I've learned.
These are the boring parts
so
of
much
these
for
committee
serving on
meetings,
this
but
board.
if I gotta
What's the question,
suffer,
Mr. Purvine?
you gotta suffer.
Anyone in the audience care to speak to 341? Councilor Arnay.
Mr. Provine, thank you for agreeing to join this board again. I would ask for your attendance, but it sounds like you've been coming to work here for about 37 years and a valuable member of this board, so thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you.
I think he's pretty solid, and Chief Malone would have it no other way, so
Okay.
I'm sure he's pretty solid.
Okay. Only one thing that I ask is that I just want to make sure, because I didn't, when I came into this position, I didn't get a clear representing the council. What are you looking for, so I can make sure that I am doing the things that you are expecting of me. So if I can get a little guidance on that piece, it would help me immensely.
Okay. Any comments now? You want to follow up with that later? Councilor Carlino.
Well, I just would stick a feather in your sort of metaphorical
Shut up.
hat and say, you know, from the first responses that you've been doing for the past 3+ decades, you know what it's like when multiple, you know, emergency services have to come together and do great work together. So keep that focus on collaboration.
Right.
Because we know when we work together as a team, everybody benefits in the end. So thank you for your
Yeah,
service.
she's got a bunch of experience
Thank
on
you so
that.
much. We're going to close the public hearing. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Those opposed? Thank you. The ayes have it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Proposal 342, 2023, reappoints Dwayne Ingram to the Board of Public Health and Safety. Mr. Ingram present. Welcome, sir. Thank you for your years of service as well on this board and other boards with our city. Mr. Ingram, share with us briefly your attendance and also your willingness to serve, reserve on this board.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor to be considered for reappointment to the Board of Public Health and Safety. This year alone, I've only missed 2 board meetings. One, it was the first Wednesday of the year when I was traveling with family, and the second was recently when I was welcoming a new staff member to my team at work, so I was unable to make
this
it.
out.
But
She's
those
not
are the only
married,
2 meetings that
boys.
I have missed.
Hey.
I have been
Might have a shot.
honored to serve in this capacity, the residents in the city of Indianapolis. And I'm also honored to let you all know that I have recently been voted by my peers to serve as the vice chair of this board. And I'm honored to be a voice of accountability and transparency for the dollars that we are responsible for with the Board of Public Health and Safety. And I would appreciate your vote of confidence in my reappointment.
Thank you so much for your service and for your willingness to serve. Comments or questions for Mr. Ingram? Councilor Graves.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Ingram, thank you so much for staying in the fight. I see you over the years just amassing just an enormous amount of skill and knowledge. I just really appreciate reappointments from anyone because it indicates their continued commitment to our city, and thank you very much for gaining the knowledge and not doing other things with it, but instead staying right here with us and
like
sharing
what?
that knowledge. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone in the audience care to speak to this proposal? Councilor Jared Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just going to echo some of the things he said, Dwayne. Over the years, I've gotten to see and hear from you and your communication with us.
Dealers with
has
his
been
parents.
greatly appreciated, so I'm very happy to support you for this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone in the audience care to speak to Proposal 342? Chair entertaining motion. Motion been probably moved and seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. 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 Those opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Ingram.
Thank you.
Proposal passes. And the last reappointment for this evening is Proposal 343, 2023, reappoints Louis Perfetta to the Annapolis Marion County Forensic Sciences Board. Mr. Perfetta, is he present? Okay. We will postpone this one with consent to our next meeting. Mr. Clerk, you got it? We'll postpone this one to our next meeting. Thank you. Up next is the appointment of Ron Devine, Proposal 344, to the Domestic Violence Fatality Review Team. Is Ms. Devine present? Welcome. This is your first time, and we do appreciate your willingness to volunteer to serve on this board. Share with us briefly why you'd like to serve on this board, please.
Yes, I am a division chief at the Marion County Prosecutor's Office over the Domestic Violence Screening Division, which means that we work with the local law enforcement to develop and file the cases involving domestic violence and stalking. Through that work, we also have the opportunity to review things that happen in this community regarding domestic violence fatalities. We work with local law enforcement, victim advocates, public health, to review the unfortunate incidents that occur when someone does take their partner's life, and we are able to analyze what happened. We are able to work with the families to find out things that maybe we didn't know prior to the event occurring, and then we report those statistics to the state of Indiana. This is a statutorily existing board through the state of Indiana, and report our statistics and findings back to them. But most importantly more important than the statistics are the ability for these stakeholders to come together and see where things could have gone differently, or see where things went poorly, even in spite of our hard work and dedication. So,
oh, it's almost like if someone wants to kill their girlfriend or wife, they're going to.
It's a good review team, and I enjoy being on it. I've served unofficially for the past year.
Thank you so much for your service. Comments or questions, Mrs. Ving? Councilor Graves.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Do you guys, Mrs. Ving, do a lot in the world of prevention? Did I hear that?
How are you going to prevent it?
Yes, that is our goal as a group, is to see if the thing, when a domestic violence fatality occurs, are there things that could have gone differently? Or was everything in place that could have been in place as a prevention standpoint? And when we do see those opportunities for prevention, we do act on those. For example, in our last meeting, we worked with the Domestic Violence Network to do some more outreach, and because we were noticing there was a gap in, we spend a lot of time talking about, husband and wife, but maybe there's, some other partner violence that's occurring that we need some outreach and awareness for.
You want to know what she's talking about? It's like lesbians. I think they have like a 70% divorce rate, and out of husband and wife, or man on man, girl on girl actually has a higher domestic assault out of all three. That's probably what she's talking about.
Mr. Chairman.
Fun fact.
Thank you. With regards to some of the prevention measures, I assume that there's a lot of cross conversations with other organizations?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
yeah, great. And the
What
domestic
prevention
violence
are you going to do?
network, one of the things I just want to share, I'm not sure how much of this is happening already, but just in these cases, the perpetrators, I think that what's been shared with me a lot as I have conversations in our communities is that there needs to be more conversations with and more structured and intentional guidance for those that are perpetrators in these situations. So I'm not sure whose ears that should fall on, but I really would know if either A, you guys are already focusing on that and not just kind of rescuing those that are unfortunately victimized.
What is this guy talking about?
Making sure that those that are perpetrating these unfortunate situations are getting the direction, because we see generational,
yeah,
repeated situations. So
yeah.
That's this counselor's 2 cents on that.
Oh, you mean like don't beat the shit out of your partner? That's all you got to do. You know how you fix this? This is how you fix it. Every time that someone gets beat from their partner, the perpetrator is going to be posted up on social media. It's like, this person beat the crap out of this person. It doesn't matter what sex they are. Like, if it happened, it happened. And, you know, I think it's good advice that you try and leave that relationship too. This is just my 2 cents, though.
Yes, sir. We are focused on prevention, and that actually is being covered by another task force that I am on, the prevention piece. We are working with IMPD to identify perpetrators and also victims in high lethality situations, and even if we are in situations where where the prosecutor's office can't file charges yet, we are identifying these victims and we are reaching out to them from a safety and prevention standpoint, and also identifying the perpetrators so that we can best focus on them as well.
Nothing's going to change unless the partner that's getting their ass beat charges the perpetrator. Here's a classic example. I was on an IMPD ride-along earlier this year, and I was talking to the officer about domestic abuse, and they were like, yeah, well, that's not even like the worst part. The worst part, you have some of these migrants where that's their culture. And so one of it was the guy was beating the crap out of his wife or girlfriend because she didn't have dinner ready. And so when the officer arrived to scene, he's got a handful of her hair, dragging her back inside the apartment. And, you know, the officer got it to stop to happen. But then the wife or girlfriend, she was apologizing. She was like, no, this is my bad. I should have dinner ready for my guy. So, you know, there are like many aspects about this whole domestic abuse situation.
Thanks. We look forward to your contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Barth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a question. Pulling on your expertise, you're obviously very well qualified, and I appreciate your willingness to serve. The thing that strikes me is during lockdown, there was this huge increase in domestic violence, right? And I don't think I've received an update or I've absorbed it yet. Has post-lockdown, post-pandemic, has those trends gone down, or have they maintained at a high level? And if they have gone down, is that because of the pandemic being done, or is there some other factor that
At least you missed the pandemic's done.
That?
I was not in this position pre-pandemic. Based on some statistics that I've received, I do not see that there has been much of a decrease since.
But there has
since
been a
the pandemic.
decrease.
I don't exactly know the reason for that.
We know why.
I do know that we are seeing an uptick in domestic violence involving weapons, and that's an unfortunate reality of, quite honestly, in my opinion, our laws.
Oh, you mean Illinois or California? They have less domestic violence numbers involving weapons? Shut up.
Regarding weapons. But nonetheless, I cannot give you facts and figures because I wasn't prepared for that today. But based on grant statistics that I've had to, or that I've had the opportunity to compare, I'm not seeing a great decrease.
Thank you. And just very tuned into this because in my district, there were several high-profile incidents that caused me to dig into this issue and start paying attention to the increased incidents of domestic violence. I won't go through the incidents, but they were very unfortunate and had to do a lot with couples who were living separately and all of a sudden were living together, among other reasons. But, again, thank you.
That'll happen.
This important issue.
Thank you, Council. Additional comments or questions? Councilor Carlino.
Thank you so much for your willingness to serve. My one comment to you would be, as you go through the process, you referenced laws that regard, in regard to firearms that this council, this body doesn't have the impact to change. But if there are, as you move forward, policy and things that we can look at, this committee would certainly be interested in hearing some of those barriers that you run into as you try to do your work. Thank you.
Shut up. Go on to my case. This is what you do. Anybody, my five current subscribers, this is what you go. You look up My Case Indiana. You're going to type in attorney. Last name Mears. First name Ryan. You're going to scroll down and you're going to click on decided. Start going through all the felonies. Start looking to see where the perpetrator, the person, they get charged for having a gun when they're not supposed to. And then see what happens. Was the case dismissed? Did they get charged for it? Or they got charged for it, but did something happen after that? Because 9 out of 10 times, nothing happened. Don't believe me? Hey, don't believe me? Go ahead and look.
Thank you.
Carlino needs to shut up.
Care to speak to Proposal 344? Seeing none, the chair entertain a motion. So moved. Motion been probably moved and seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much for your willingness to volunteer.
Thank you.
Up next, Proposal 345, 2023 appoints Kelly Doucette to the Citizens Police Complaint Board. Ms. Doucette, you want to come forward?
Police Complaint Board.
Welcome.
Oh, this should be good.
Ms. Doucette, thank you for your willingness to serve. This is a really important board, as you all know. Your input has been very valuable on this board. Mm-hmm. Share with us briefly why you'd like to be appointed to this board.
Sure, thank you for having me. I consider myself a young professional, and as I continue to grow my leadership in the city of Indianapolis, I think it's important that I serve not only the city but the community in a capacity such as this. I consider myself fair and impartial, and I like to look at facts and make sure that things are done the way that they are supposed to do, and this is a great opportunity to continue in that role.
Ms. Doucette, thank you. There are some requirements for this role. I'm sure Mr. Ingram can speak to you about it. It requires you to do some ride-alongs and some hours with officers and things like that. Just be sure that you get those in a timely manner, so you can kind of see.
I would love to be on that board. Like out there. I love ride-alongs. They're awesome.
Comments or questions, Ms. Doucette? Anyone? Councilor Graves.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for taking the leap and bringing those great talents that you've already demonstrated in various things that you do around our city right here. In a
what are you talking about, Graves?
Role. Thank you very much.
Graves needs to lay off the pipe.
Thank you, Councilor Graves.
Thank you for your willingness to serve. This is one of the most important boards our city has to offer. Very important that the citizens of the city of Indianapolis have an avenue to file legitimate concerns and complaints with respects to our police, and I wish you all the best and look forward to seeing you take this role, and I hope that it's an experience very valuable to you as well.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
What a missed opportunity.
Anyone in the audience could speak to 345.
No one asked her why she hasn't gone on the ride-alongs. What do we do? Just lazy.
Moved and seconded.
Lazy.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Doucette. We'll see you soon. Thank you for your willingness to serve. Up next, Proposal 346, 2023 approves an additional appropriation of $10,610,000 and a reduction in appropriation of $2,200,000 in the 2023 budget of the Marion County Sheriff for the purpose of funding overtime expenses, contractual obligations for food services, and operation of the jail, and additional grant awards. Mr. Sheriff, Ms. CFO, Colin Carr, you want to come forward? You'll make her do all the hard work, huh, Mr. Sheriff?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee,
Yo.
thanks for your time tonight. We are here to request additional appropriations, as the chairman said, in characters 1, 3, and 4, as well as a reduction in appropriation in character 3. Character 1, we are seeking an additional appropriation of $5.7 million. $4 million of that is in character 1 county general. 1.7 is in the federal grants fund. Both funds will be used to cover a shortfall due to overtime, as well as providing funding for retention bonuses and providing appropriation for additional grant awards. In character 3, we are seeking an additional appropriation of $4,855,000.
Dollar store Jordan
in
Peterson
county
back
general.
here.
This will be used to reimburse the city for settlement costs and to cover contractual costs related to jail operations. The $2.2 million reduction in existing appropriation will also occur in character 3 in the inmate medical fund. And then finally, we are seeking an additional appropriation of $55,000 in character 4 federal grants fund. This will be used for the purchase of an accessible van for the transport of inmates. Happy to answer any
Thank you,
questions.
Ms. Carr, for your service to our city and to our agency, the Sheriff's Office. Comments or questions for Ms. Carr, CFO? Councilor Oliver.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam, the overtime questions, is that has any relationship with staffing, or because I heard earlier in the several years back now about the Sheriff's Department perhaps being understaffed, being able to reach this platform. We heard that from IMPD. Can you answer that? Is this a temporary thing or efficiency, lack of, whatever?
No, it is absolutely related to the understaffing. Overtime is essentially the only way we are able to sustain operations at the agency. So we simply do not have enough deputies and detention deputies. So we have to use overtime in order to fill shifts.
Thank you.
Wow, who would want to be a cop in Marion County?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just curious, is overtime mandatory for sheriff's deputies? Or is it strictly a volunteer?
It is not mandatory. It is on a volunteer basis. I believe, Colonel Martin can answer that question a little better. I believe there may be situations, but he'll be able to answer that better for you.
Good question, Councilor Bain. Colonel Martin, welcome.
Thank you. Overall, it is voluntary. There are times that when the shift starts, we have to hold people over until we find coverage or find volunteers to come in, do the call-offs or other
sort of
events that happen that day. But for the overall majority, we're not mandating overtime. We're not forcing overtime. It is all volunteer.
Thank you, sir. Additional comments, Leader Mallory.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can imagine with all the overtime expenses, like you're saying, and how you're running the jail based off of overtime, and it's kind of keeping things floating here. That takes a strain on a lot of the deputies that are out there every day, and with that strain, I'm sure accidents get made, as what we've seen in the news, such as like the gotaways or the accidental releases. I'm just curious if you know of a number of how many have happened this year.
You had like 3 questions in there. Which one am I
There's
answering?
one question.
How many gotaways have we had this year? There's just one question.
What is a gotaway?
Or an accidental release.
An accidental release?
Yeah.
Well, there is no such thing as an accidental release.
Okay, I'm talking about, let's make it simple then. I'm talking about the people that your deputies have let go when they should have remained behind bars.
Okay, I can get that number to you. But there have been a couple mistaken releases.
Oh, what's the difference?
That is due to human error.
What's the difference?
Things like that.
An accident versus a mistake.
There's been no gotaways. There's been no. So I don't understand part of your question.
I guess I consider gotaway somebody that got away from jail that should be in jail.
Well, I can get that number for you, for certainly, but I can guarantee you that number is less.
This guy's being a dick.
Last year, I think we did a public access request, and don't quote me on this, but a news station reported that we did 42,000 releases, and there were like 6 mistaken releases out of 42,000.
Okay.
Thank you, Colonel.
Thank you.
If you can share that with us, with our clerk, we'd appreciate it. Thank you, Colonel.
I think what Maurer was doing is he's trying to help the sheriff's office out. Was saying is like, you guys are working so much overtime. Listen, you guys need help. What do you need? Would you need more money? Do we need to change the pay rate? I don't. I think that guy was. I think that was friendly fire or what happened, but that colonel took everything way too seriously. Maury, I think, was trying to help him.
Colonel. Additional comments?
And I think
or questions from
Maury
Ms.
was
Carr? endorsed
endorsed by the FOP,
Anyone in
which
the
is
audience
even
care to speak to this
crazier.
proposal? Thank you, Ms. Carr. Mr. Sheriff, anything you want to say or share?
Yo, high top.
Respecting the position, sir. You're here, so got to give you a moment to say something if you want
Thank
to.
you. I just want to appreciate everyone's time and taking time to review our budget. In the interest of
Perfectly
our agency.
symmetrical.
Thank you, sir, for your service as well. The chair will entertain a motion on proposal 346. Motion properly moved and seconded. We'll do a roll call vote on these. They're not appointments. Mr. Clerk?
Councilor Nay,
Aye.
Councilor Bain,
Aye.
Councilor Barth,
Aye.
Councilor Carlino,
Aye.
Councilor Dilk,
Councilor Dilk, aye.
Councilor Evans,
Counselor Evans, aye.
Councilor Grave,
Graves, aye.
Councilor Mascari,
Mascari, aye.
Councilor Mallory,
Aye.
Councilor Oliver,
Oliver, aye.
Chairman Robinson,
Robinson, aye.
recommended that the council do pass said proposal.
Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate you. Ms. Carr, we appreciate you as well. Proposal 347, 2023, approves an additional appropriation of $1,080,000 and a transfer totaling $87,975, the 2023 budget of the Marion County Prosecutor's Office for the purpose of financing personnel costs and professional services. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Welcome. Just state your name for the record, please.
Salita Scott, Chief Counsel of the Marion County Prosecutor's Office.
The mask.
We are requesting an
Throw the
additional
mask.
appropriation of $930,000 in Character 1 in the County General Fund, $150,000 in Character 3, and then a transfer of $87,975 to cover personnel and operating expenses. We've accounted for these increased expenses in our approved 2024 budget.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Comments or questions for 347? Ms. Scott, anyone? Anyone in the audience care to speak to this proposal and this request? Chair entertain a motion. Motion will probably moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk, you want to do a roll call vote, please?
Councilor Nay,
Aye.
Councilor Bain,
Aye.
Councilor Barth,
Aye.
Councilor Carlino,
Aye.
Councilor Dilk,
Councilor Dilk, aye.
Councilor Evans,
Counselor Evans, aye.
Councilor Graves,
Graves, aye.
Councilor Mascari,
Mascari, aye.
Councilor Mallory,
Aye.
Councilor Oliver,
Oliver, aye.
Chairman Robinson,
Robinson, aye.
recommended that the council do pass said proposal.
Thank you so much, Ms. Scott. Have a good day. Appreciate you. Proposal 348, 2023, approves a transfer of $358,350, additional appropriation of $220,000 in the 2023 budget of the Marion County Public Defender Agency for the purpose of funding constitutionally required court expenses. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Ray Casanova. I'm Chief Trial Counsel for the Marion County Public Defender Agency. We are requesting a transfer of appropriation of $200,000 from Character 1 to Character 3 to cover contracts in order for us to stay in compliance with the Indiana Public Defender Commission recent changes in caseload standards. We are also requesting an additional $220,000 in Character 3 to fund death penalty experts as well as other expert services.
Let's go.
As well as transcripts and parking costs for our agency. We are also requesting a transfer appropriation of $122,600 of our supplemental fund from Character 3 to Character 1. This will be used to help provide some compensation for our summer interns, summer graduate interns, and we are also requesting a transfer of $11,750 from Character 3 to Character 2. This is federal grants funding related to opioid addictions to fund program and supply costs for some of our clients who are suffering from opioid addiction. And finally, we're asking for a transfer of appropriation of $24,000 from Character 3 to Character 4. These are Title 4E funds. These are funds that we receive from the Indiana Public Defender Commission. These are reimbursement for the services of our TPR chins, attorneys and services, and we are going to use that transfer from Character 3 to Character 4 to fund equipment needs for our offices.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Councilor Carlino.
I was actually going to request to be a co-sponsor, so if I
So that's how easy it is to be a co-sponsor.
Any questions, Mr. Councilor Carlino? Councilor Graves.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. How's it going there, Ms. Casanova?
Good. How are you, Mr.
Casanova?
I'm assuming that the new caseload standards are going to make it lighter for you guys. Is that the case?
They will change. Some divisions, for example, our major felony division, our juvenile divisions, they will change in the weighting of cases. Currently, for example, a murder is weighed the same as a misdemeanor, and that kind of incongruity was addressed by the Indiana Public Defender Commission, and basically adding some equity in that weighing of cases. But when that happened, it was going to be necessary for us to hire additional staff in our major felony division. We initially received funding for 9 full-time attorneys in our major felony division.
Yeah.
But given the problems right now with finding full-time attorneys, we had to reevaluate that, and we're doing that by funding a group of 9 contract attorneys, and that's why we're requesting this transfer of appropriations from Character 1 to Character 3.
That's funny that he just said that he's contracting attorneys out. Now, how much you want to bet? It's like, well, how do you decide that? You go through like the whole Rolodex? Because there's a lot of lawyers in Indianapolis. I would be willing to put money on that the people who get those contracts donated to Ryan Mears, our Marion County prosecutor.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Councilor Graves. Thank you for your response, sir. Anyone else, comments or questions? Anyone in the audience care to speak to Proposal 348? Chair, entertain a motion. Motion been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk, you want to do a roll call vote?
Councilor Ney.
Aye.
Councilor Bain.
Aye.
Councilor Barth.
Aye.
Councilor Carlino.
Aye.
Councilor Dilk.
Councilor Dilk.
So what do they do with the extra money? They're just
Councilor
moving
Evans?
it to other things then?
Councilor Graves.
Graves, aye.
Councilor Mascari.
Mascari, aye.
Councilor Maury.
Aye.
A pocket some of
Councilor
whatever they
Oliver?
have left.
Oliver, aye.
Chairman Robinson.
Robinson, aye.
Recommended that council do pass said proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, sir,
Thank
for your
you.
presentation. A couple more proposals left this evening. Proposal 349, 2023, approves an additional appropriation of $336,700 and a transfer of $258,331 in the 2023 budget of IFD of the purposes of funding contractual firefighter health and wellness services and utility payments. Who's speaking to IFD's proposal this evening? Welcome. How are you?
I'm well. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Dawn Sykes-Randall. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for the Indianapolis Fire Department, and I come before you tonight regarding Proposal 349. IFD is requesting an additional appropriation in Character 3 in the amount of $336,700. This will fund a health and wellness services contract, which was negotiated after the budget passage in 2023. And so we have exceeded the costs that were in the contract, and so we're coming back for the additional appropriation per this contract. And then we're also asking to transfer $258,331 from Character 4 to Character 3. This transfer will support utility payments to Citizens Energy Group, which we pay monthly for our 45 fire stations. I'll be happy to address any questions.
Ms. Sykes-Randall, thank you so much for your presentation.
You're welcome.
And your service to IFD. Comments or questions? Anyone in the audience care to speak to 349? Chair, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk, you want to do
Spent
a
too
roll
much
call
money.
vote,
Please help us. Help
Councilor
us.
Arnay,
Aye.
Councilor Bain,
Aye.
Councilor Barth,
Aye.
Councilor Carlino,
Aye.
Councilor Dilk,
Counselor Dilk, aye.
Councilor Evans,
Aye.
Councilor Graves,
Graves, aye.
Councilor Mascari,
Mascari, aye.
Councilor Maury,
Aye.
Councilor Oliver,
Oliver, aye.
Chairman Robinson.
Robinson, aye.
Recommended that council do pass said proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, sir. Sykes Randall, thank you so much.
Thank you. You all have a
Appreciate
good
it.
holiday.
Have a good day. You too. Proposal number 350, 2023, authorizes the Metropolitan Emergency Services Agency to enter into a lease for approximately 4,700 square feet for space at the Perry Township Government Center located at 44925 South Shelby Street. Sir, your name, please?
Good evening, sir. Kevin Wethington, Wethinghington. I am the director of Mesa Public Safety Communications. Some of you formerly known as MECA, but Mesa is the new 911 center as well as the technology side and EMA all together under one umbrella as Mesa. This evening, I'm asking for permission to renew our lease agreement with the Perry Township Government Center, with the Perry Township trustee. We've occupied this space since the Sheriff's Department had their dispatch center there in the 90s. Rural Metro Fire was there. When Mecca was established, dispatch operations came downtown to its current location, and we kept this facility as our backup 911 center, as well as our training center, as well as we have one of our radio tower sites in the parking lot. We've occupied the space. We've done 5-year agreements since the 90s. This is the first time I've been before this board in this structure. Previously, this arrangement had always been handled as an interlocal agreement between two municipal entities, and it was determined that it needed to go as a lease this year. So this is not a new arrangement. It is well below market rate. It's $20,000 a year, roughly. 5-year, just over $100,000. For the 4,700 square feet that we occupy, it's well below market rate. It's not a private landlord. It's not a typical lease agreement, but I need your approval to move forward with the agreement that expires at the end of this year.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Comments or questions for 350? Councilor Arnay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No questions. I'd just like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for that.
Additional comments or questions from councilors? Anyone in the audience care to speak to 350? Seeing none, should entertain a motion.
So moved.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk,
What's
do a roll call
Scary
vote.
laughing at?
Councilor Arnay,
Aye.
Councilor Bain,
Aye.
Councilor Barth,
Aye.
Councilor Carlino,
Aye.
Councilor Dilk,
Counselor Dilk, aye.
Councilor Evans,
Aye.
Councilor Graves,
Graves, aye.
Councilor Mascari,
Mascari, aye.
Councilor Maury,
Aye.
Councilor Oliver,
Oliver, aye.
Chairman Robinson.
Robinson, aye.
Recommended that council do pass said proposal.
Thank you so much, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, sir. And the last item on our agenda this evening is Proposal 351, 2023, amends Chapter 591 of the Revised Code, Fire Prevention and Protection, Article 4, Division 1, by adding a new section 591-410. And who's speaking to this proposal?
We will be, Mr. Chairman. My name is Todd Duncan. I'm the Sheet Metal Workers Local 20 here in town. This is Tony Young. He's my colleague. We're both business representatives.
Union
talk about this
business
bill.
representatives.
I'm here today to explain why this fire life safety ordinance is essential and why it is imperative that we understand the negative repercussions of not passing it. There's an old adage, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. We all know it. The implication is clear. It is much easier to prevent disaster than to fix it after the fact. And it is certainly more cost effective. It is clear that the news that businesses often are tempted to dismiss preventative measures as not cost effective, but national headlines tell a different story. The Meridian One Plaza fire One of the most significant high-rise fires in U.S. history claimed the lives of 3 firefighters and gutted 8 floors of a 38-story building. The result was over $100 million in property loss and litigation of almost $4 billion in civil damage claims. The absence of fire dampers and ventilation shafts permitted the fire and smoke to spread vertically and horizontally. Furthermore, the MGM Grand Fire in Las Vegas sent 650 people to the hospital, resulting in the deaths of 85 people, 80 of which were directly related to smoke inhalation. The resulting $223 million settlement, the outcome of over 1,300 lawsuits filed, was attributable to impaired smoke dampers or simply other non-existent HVAC components. The fire marshal there and engineering consultants had both warned of the lack of proper
Dude,
fire
that fire was
safety
back in
equipment during the
1980.
construction. Smoke inhalation is the cause of more than 70% of fire-related deaths. Reducing the chance of smoke inhalation through proper dampers will inevitably save lives. Clearly, both of these corporate disasters could easily have been prevented with proper due diligence. In today's world, we understand that prevention is the most effective method for dealing with potential problems. This is why buildings are equipped with fire escapes, sprinkler systems, and advanced warning fire alarm systems as defined in their building codes. Is there a cost involved? Yes, of course there is. But the ultimate cost of preventing a calamity is much cheaper than the alternative. Clearly, we've reached a point where as a society we realize that there are costs involved in prevention. But when that cost can save lives, ultimately, it is worth it. Statistically, a lack of preparation contributes to fire losses of more than $2.3 billion annually, according to OSHA, and yet the costs of preventing them are minimal in comparison. This ordinance puts the inspection element in the hands of a qualified HVAC fire life safety technician. Who better to inspect the fire and smoke dampers than the person who understood the wishes of the architects, engineers, and system designers? These are the very technicians who were initially responsible for the installation of the HV system in the first place. In conclusion, I urge you to consider that many of the costs that businesses incur are necessary costs. One cannot dismiss an additional cost as burdensome to a business without assessing whether or not it is cost effective. This fire and smoke damper inspection requirement permeates the safety codes of our nation. Building owners have a duty to inspect and maintain their buildings to these codes. Failure to do so in the event of a fire can lead to insurance policy exclusion and tort liability based on the owner's neglect or misrepresentation, even if unintentional. The decision before you now is not whether the fire life safety ordinance is a necessary one. You should instead look toward how this cost-effective ordinance can give peace of mind to those in business, prevent a catastrophe, and save lives. Thank you for your time.
Okay, so I just looked it up. The Meridian 1 fire was in 1991. That MGM fire was in 1980. So you're talking about fires that happened 30 and 40 years ago. Let's kind of add it up together. This guy had his whole speech ready. This feels like a shakedown. I don't know about you. You got a union rep business guy coming in here saying, hey, guess what? You guys need to do everything. It's always like, hey, you know, this is a really nice building here. It'd be a shame if there's a fire in it. This could totally be prevented if you just let my crew in there. Or, hey, we'll change the policy a little bit and we'll get some fire damper inspection here. Oh, by the way, it's got to be done through the union and through the Indianapolis Fire Department. I'm guessing that's what they're going to say.
I'll take questions now.
Thank you for sharing that information, and we appreciate you coming in this evening. Questions on 341, Councilor Graves.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I just want to clarify that the revision is just to have a master installer inspect, correct?
Correct.
And we are currently inspecting, but we're not using master installers.
Correct.
And you talked about cost. Is that, did I miss that?
We need our guys.
Pardon? I didn't hear the last question.
Cost.
The cost?
You said there's going to be a cost. Is it just the professional?
There will be a cost to probably contractors to inspect these fire dampers on a semi-regular basis.
But it needs to go through our union. I mean, he's kind of saying the quiet part out loud.
Currently, we probably already have a cost, though, right?
Yeah, that cost is unknown, though.
Because they aren't doing it yet.
That I know of.
Thank you.
Because it changes.
Anyone else? Anyone in the audience? Councilor Nene.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your presentation. You threw a lot at us in a very short period of time. I appreciate that. For those watching at home, and maybe even for some of us sitting up here in this committee, will you reiterate what the costs are?
You didn't give any.
didn't follow that.
Well, the costs will have to be made after you figure out how many fire dampers you have in the city and county that would fall under these guidelines.
He's
And then there would
changing
be
the
a cost as to
guidelines.
how much a contractor could go and do that. It would probably be a bid process, I would assume, sir.
And you are looking for this to be revised today because you have seen what, leading up to now, as a problem.
Is he leading them?
Fire dampers not checked, quite frankly. At some point, these fire dampers that have air coming through them 24/7 clog up and can't be used and mechanically don't function. That's when these accidents occur.
And last but not least, I see our fire chief and president of the union. Is this something that they are
Got to have the president of the union
taking a
here.
position on, or not?
Thank you, Councilor Ney. Good question. Yes, so that was my question, Councilor Ney.
Here comes the
Thank you.
union
Where
guy.
Councilor Brown sponsored this proposal. which
Got to
we
bring in the
get
union guy.
thoughts of our chief and our union representative as well. Appreciate you, Councilor Ney.
Yeah, good evening, councilors, Mr. Chairman. Our position is we support anything that can aid in the safety of our citizens in the buildings where we proverbially live, work, and play, and certainly the added protections of our firefighters. City of Indianapolis and certainly IFD doesn't have a financial interest or gain in this project, but the dampers are proven. If installed and used properly and working properly, they can aid us in the movement of smoke and the products of combustion during an incident. So we would be supportive of this or any measure that helps us there. But again, we don't have a financial.
They don't want any accountability. That's what they're saying.
So, Councilor Chief, regarding that, so who does? So how does this work? Walk through us.
Who's making the money?
So if this was to pass, what's the financial burden on companies, businesses? How does that work?
Even Leroy, he knows something's up.
As I said before, it'll be a bid process, so you'll be able to take competitive bids on that as to who gets that.
You as in the IFD?
No, the city who owns the buildings.
Even he's
Who put these
confused.
dampers on a regular basis.
Thank you, Councilor Carlino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's important to note when we look at this policy, the buildings that we're talking about, I think that's the source of some of the confusion of some of my colleagues. Are we talking about solely buildings owned and operated by the City of Indianapolis and building authority? And would those be the buildings that we are overseeing, or is this private entities, all buildings that currently have to be
City and county
inspected?
buildings only would, this ordinance, the other ones would grandfathered in.
Thank you,
in
sir.
that respect.
And echoing what Councilor Ney said, we just got this folder.
That is
today.
kind of weird. It's only the city
This is quite a bit of information to
buildings that the
consider.
city owns.
And
All the other
normally-
buildings, they're fine.
Normally with
What?
proposal like this, we do have, if it's IFD, we have IFD coming forward. This is a little different for us from our committee, something of this nature coming for support outside of our normal RAM. So this is new for us. Councilor Carlino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that we postpone Proposal 351, and I would request that our council also maybe get a fiscal impact from the projections of building authority on this measure as well.
Look at Barth goofing around.
With that, I respect that request to postpone. We didn't hear from our union representative as well. You want to speak to it as well?
Yeah, Hank Harris, President of Indianapolis Professional Firefighters, Local 416. I'll just reiterate what the chief said. We are always in support of anything that adds protection and safety to the citizens and our firefighters. It's my understanding, based on it, it's kind of like sprinkler inspections, and correct me if I'm wrong, where a lot of times we'll have a fire protection service that does those inspections, and then our fire marshals inspect to make sure they were inspected, make sure that they're up to code. So is that was my understanding.
But they have to be
kinda how it
master
is.
installers.
So I don't know if that helps clarify it or not, but that was my understanding. So again, just to reiterate what Chief stated, anything that's a safety to our members and to the citizens that we're sworn to protect, we're always looking forward to.
We don't want any accountability. Listen,
Yeah,
we don't want any
thank you.
accountability.
Speaking to that, and again, Councilor Carlino has a request to postpone, which I'm more inclined to support.
Good idea.
So with that request to postpone, Councilor, you have a question on the can we do the postponement first or what? On the postponement motion? I mean, if we're going to postpone it, I don't want to keep digging it.
State my position,
Oh.
either or, on the proposal before vote is taken.
Councilor Oliver?
Yes?
You say yes?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, my union brother, thank you very much, and I support your effort in what you're doing on this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Councilor Bain?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Will there be time for some questions after the vote to postpone? Just thinking that if we do have questions, it might be helpful to at least ask those now. That way they can come back and have answers for us at our next committee meeting in case they don't at the moment.
Councilor Bain, what I was honestly thinking is to convene a small group of us to kind of have a deeper dive with our team and with these folks to kind of get a better understanding. That was kind of my thought. If we have some questions, we can pull together and submit them together.
There you go.
That's kind of my thinking.
That works.
A few of the committee members, our staff, these individuals, some of them IFD, kind of just give us a little bit more information about how this works. Again, we got this folder right as the meeting started, so I don't think anyone had a chance to really review it. So would you be okay with that, Councilor Bain, if we kind of pull together a meeting off the record and kind of chat it with these folks and our caucus members and staff?
That's fine.
Thank you so much. Councilor Graves?
Some of the things I would like circle back on, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, is other municipalities that you guys are working with and demonstrated. I know you use some pretty well-known examples of disasters, but
30, 40 years ago
within our municipalities, particularly around here where we missed an opportunity if we had this type of extra set of eyes that we would have avoided a disaster.
Evansville and Vanderburgh County currently have this ordinance on the books right now. The state of Illinois passed it just recently, and the state of Connecticut, both those did just recently in this past, I guess, 2023 session earlier this year.
But there's nothing in Indianapolis.
Thank you, Councilor Graves. There's been a motion on the floor to postpone by Councilor Calino. Was there a second? Second. You want to do a roll call vote, Mr. Clerk, on the postponement?
Councilor Anay?
Aye on the postponement.
Councilor Bain?
Aye.
Councilor Barth?
Aye.
Councilor Carlino?
Aye.
Councilor Dilk?
Councilor Dilk, aye on the postponement.
Like those two.
Councilor Evans?
Nay on the postponement.
Councilor Graves?
Hesitating.
Graves, aye on the postponement.
Councilor Mascari?
Mascari, aye.
Councilor Mowry?
Aye.
Councilor Oliver?
Oliver, no.
Chairman Robinson?
Robinson, aye on the postponement.
Postponement action on the proposal until,
To our next date.
or for the next date.
Look at Evans. He's so over it.
Open door law. How many committee members can meet at once?
It's like, can we please stop looking like morons right now?
Once you've convened a committee, two or more.
Say it again.
Anything over two.
Okay, so we have to pick two individuals. Maury will pick one, I'll pick one, and they can meet and talk to staff, Mr. Stowers, and Bain, you're the one?
Just had a point of order from maybe our legal counsel. We do not have another committee meeting until after December 4th. After that, we do not have another full council meeting until January. Would this then have to be reintroduced in January with the new council unless this committee meets next week?
And is it time sensitive too? Good question, Councilor Bain. Is it time sensitive, gentlemen? So two questions. One for
of course, it's time sensitive. It's safety. Didn't you know?
Who proposed
every day we don't have this is another
number
danger.
Well, you don't even have it now, so I don't know about time sensitive or not. I guess we can come back and reorder it again after you get a new council. It is in January, we just like to push it through. It is, much of what we do here is safety, and this is a safety issue. That's really kind of going unnoticed.
Ms. Pierce, you
Who
want to
knows
speak to
what could
Councilor
happen?
Bain's question?
I do believe that has been you all's history is to reintroduce things at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
So-
Thank you so much. We'll hear it at our next meeting. Thank you so much. That items on our
Thank
agenda.
you.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Well, that was a clusterfuck. Man, Brown pushed it in at the very last second, but then she wasn't here to justify it. This is what happens in city government, man. What can I tell you?